Well, evening all, Christmas classic in an eerie Battersea Park tonight. Beautifully still conditions, and we have a World Championship silver medalist in town, and of course a gold medalist from back in Eugene 2022. He will be one of the men up at the front, but of course we have a Battersea Park absolute favourite, Jack Kavanagh, and a newcomer actually, James Kingston. And we're looking forward to seeing what Kingston can do out here tonight. We know he just missed out on that Liverpool team. I'm sure he was watching the European Cross Country Championships in envy, but it would have been fuel to the fire for him, that's for sure. And he's come out here now. Rumours, ladies and gentlemen, of a British record tonight. I mean, is that too ambitious? I know it's just caught Neil Danby before they got underway, and he was just asking the question, is Wigfield around? They might have needed help. Kavanagh, if he was to get the British record, he might have wanted that company of Wigfield. Those two have had so many races out here in Battersea Park over the last 12 months. And you know what, I can't see Wigfield in here. And so I imagine Kavanagh is tucking himself back. That's Tom Butler in second, by the way. And interestingly, no big names to the front just yet. And I think Kavanagh knows he will be the favourite for this. And he knows he'll have to be smart, he'll have to bide his time and strike, but not leave it too late. He's got a good close on him, but you would not bank him to beat Jake Wightman in a sprint finish. So the longer this goes on, the more confident Wightman will get out there as well. 3 laps, three and a quarter laps pretty much at Battersea Park. That's what they'll do tonight. Slightly more, of course, in that 5K. And they'll start all the way down by the pear tree where you just saw, and they'll finish right up at the far end on that sharp left-hand turn. So then high-stepping Kent AC athlete leads, spearheads them along the straightaway. Butler in behind, and Kavanagh right in behind him. And then we do have a slight gap, and that is Jake Wightman, who sits in what is 4th position in the race. And he is the one just letting that gap open up at the moment. And he'll probably want a few of these men to come around him. 25 minutes and change, his lifetime best over 5 mile. However, we know he's capable of much, much more. Wightman. We'll keep an eye on those mile splits. I'll bring them to you. But it's a sharp left turn, as they so often navigate with no problems at all. Ben Alcock's in here. Kingston looks like he's Paul Brown Wightman now. And here you can see him in his distinct cap and those Tonbridge AC colours. And he'll be plotting his year in 2026. Kingston, former national cross-country champion, GB International, represented at the World Cross Country, what will be a couple years ago at the turn of the year. Formidable talent. So Butler looks smooth in second there. Kavanagh taking that inside line. Is this his first move? Kingston, Wightman just sitting back. Ben Alcock and Flurry Grierson, the Highgate man. Third at those national cross country championships. BT's in there as well. So we've got a large pack of 8-9 men. And I suspect things will get moving as we come along down this backstretch of the Astro, and then we get into the familiar territory of 5K to run. And that's what a few of these men will be used to up here in Battersea Park. And I tell you what, not much Christmas spirit in Battersea tonight. Hardly anyone around, bar the crowd, those who are supporting out here, which is good to see. But yeah, very few common pedestrians out here. They're all at their works Christmas parties. Well, this is these men's party tonight. We've seen a few tuxedos. So Kavanagh now to the left of this lead group. He's starting to just move things along out front. Butler, Kingston paying very, very close attention. 4:41 through that first mile for a lot of these men. That will be not far off their tempo pace. Now, that British record, by the way, 22:35. Is it ambitious to talk about it? 4:31 miling. Extremely challenging, and one would argue even the fact they're just 10 seconds off through that first mile that the British record is gone. However, that course record of Elmy's, 23:10, very much in reach, and they're operating at that sort of tempo tonight already. I'm not sure Kavanagh's going to get much help, but he's a man who enjoys, there's a lot of his training solo. Yes, they've got a good group developing down at Holland Sports AC, but he is by far and away the best. And because of that, he'll be off the front doing a lot of his work solo. Jack Kavanagh, the British silver medalist over 5,000 metres on the track in the summer. So, talk of those local pedestrians that I was mentioning, there's a few of them they've had to weave by. However, Kavanagh, Kingston and Butler, they're your top three. Butler notoriously does like a fast start as well. He'll be comfortable at 4:41 pace, Butler, through that first mile. He's a sub 30 10k man. Been no stranger to this sort of rhythm, especially not over 5 miles. So, almost a lap done of the park. And we're starting to see the big hitters to the fore. And we think Wightman will definitely bide his time there in the group. This will be a tricky lap for Wightman. He'll have to get his head down. And interestingly enough, he's got a 2k at the turn of the year against Grant Fisher. Head-to-head matchup between him and Fisher in Boston on January the 24th. So he's got about a month. And he was just testing his endurance off the back of a pretty big camp in Flagstaff. So let's see what he can do as we approach. The next marker will be 3k, and then of course 2 miles. So your two men, the fastest in the field over 5,000. 13:33 for Kavanagh, 13:41 for Kingston. He's an accomplished man over the 5,000. Some mistake him, underestimate him as a cross-country specialist, but he can operate at a very, very high level on the track in Kingston, and it's certainly something that he's getting better and better at as the years progress, and would not be surprised if he runs south of 13:30 this summer. That will be on his mind. But first, he's got another 2 laps of the park ahead of him. So he needs to just pull in clear. This isn't a move they've made. Not really. This is just applied, sustained pressure that is pulling them clear of the rest of them. And you know, there's only so many people who can just live with 4:40 mile pace around the park, and they may have increased a little bit. So there is a slight downhill section round by the pear tree there, and they'll be coming up to what will be the bell lap on that left-hand turn. But these two are just feeding off each other now, and they've been in this situation a couple times. And you know, this is where I think the likes of, they both thrive actually. This is both of their strengths. You know, Kavanagh loves to be just dictating things, but at the same time, you know, keying off those men around him, applying pressure, applying a couple surges to see how they respond. They're very good at analysing how those around them are feeling. And of course, Kingston the same. The amount of head-to-head duels that he's had over the years over the country, and he's been able to just pull away from those around him and just measure his effort. So they are both comfortable in this sort of environment. Now here we are. The 2 mile marker is approaching. 4:30 for that mile. So, beg your pardon, I said they wouldn't have picked it up too much. They would have just applied a little bit of sustained pressure, but that's a big increase. 4:30 for that mile for these boys. 2 laps to go for them. So they hammer around that turn, and they're going to start lapping people now. That previous race that sets off a few of our elite women to look out for as well. Seddon. They'll be very in tune with this pace. Kingston and Kavanagh stride for stride. Both have a long loping stride out here, both very, very relaxed in the upper body as well. Unfazed, next to no wind, picking their line. And it's at this point, you know, all that experience that Kavanagh's had round here, you would argue, could it pay? He knows the lines, he's had a few mistakes himself, Kavanagh, on this terrain. That little trip against Joe Wigfield a few races back over 5K, back in September, that cost him on that occasion. However, pulled clear of Wigfield back at the end of November. Well, look at this stint. Here is your chase group. Flurry Grierson, Ben Alcock, Tom Butler, they're all still in there. Jonathan Cornish, BT. This is a great group. And I think Wightman's race instincts will start to kick in this group. He'll just look and go, can I get the job done on these men around me? They know who is in this pack. They know who they've got to try and drop. There's a scalp to be had here tonight. And these men are well clear of those behind. There is a bit of a golfing class at Battersea tonight. I will say that. Flurry Grierson there in the Highgate colours. He had a busy week. Last week saw him at the evening cross-country race. He dominated that. Looked very, very smooth as well. And he is starting to move well over the country, Flurry. We know he peaked at the right time last year with the national cross-country in his mind.
Right, John.
And he is a man who is comfortable over 12K on the mud. So just looking to press. Ben Alcock as well. Transitioning to the half marathon and doing a very, very good job at it. Here's Ben Alcock, 63-minute runner. And they got some good support out there, these men. Especially the likes of Wightman. So you can see, interesting enough, they're all drifting, trying to find that good line. See where it is. There is a slight camber at Battersea Park. Talked to Mark Lloyd about that, coach at Cottage. And you know, he does say you've got to find that centre line. It's the most even for your strike through the ground, because there is a slight camber that these men will use, especially around some of these bends. Now look at Wightman, he wants to open that long stride of his. Is he getting a little eager? Will he want to push on? He can see Kingston and Kavanagh, and he's probably looking at them going, these guys aren't pulling away that much anymore. You know, they threw down that 4:30 mile on the second mile. They got their 10-second gap, and it stayed pretty much the same. These guys behind are keeping on them. A lap and a half to run here at Friday night under the lights, the Christmas Classic. Can you believe it? 5 years these events have been going on now. They are a staple of the British calendar. They really are. And the level of quality that turn up week in, I say week in, week out, month in, month out, here at Battersea for these events. And Kavanagh setting that course record last time out, 13:33 over 5,000. He has really enjoyed these events over the last 12 months or so. He's had huge success. Well, we look out for a few. They are certainly, they got men to key off of. But now it's those Kent AC colours and Ben Alcock to the front of this pack. And they're just going to try and look, that gap is now, I would say, for the first time. They held it where they could see them on that long stretch on the back straight there at the park. They actually were able to hold Kingston and Kavanagh for a large part of it. But now that gap's increasing. And these men have got to work together. They've got to stretch things out if they want to limit that gap. They want to get up on that podium today. They've got a big job to do. So that third mile, 4:42 for this chase pack, has just flashed up on my watch. In fact, it might be a touch quicker than that. However, look at the movements up front. Kingston now just ahead of Kavanagh. He's the one who's going to start to drive things on. Now, if you're Kingston, do you want to be in that position? You've got a lap and a half to go. You've got a yard on Kavanagh, who can close with the best of them. The British 5,000 metre silver medalist on the track, 13:33 a few weeks ago. You've almost probably become tired of hearing me list this man's credentials. I feel like I've done it so many times at these races over the last 12 months, because it has been Kavanagh to the head of the field. But this is big from Kingston. Very good. He is gapping him. He's fresh. He's hungry. And you know, after Liverpool, Kingston would have got his head down and said, nope, I will not be missing out again. I will prove I am one of the best runners in the country, which we know he is. Seddon. Kingston with 5 yards on Kavanagh, who just looks to just settle back. There's still a long way to go. We still got 3K pretty much just under to go here at Battersea Park, and these men are going to start to lap those who are closing out their race here. That first wave of brilliant London club runners, mostly some from afar as well. So then James Kingston of Tonbridge AC, I told you, he knows he is able, one of his strengths, he's able to suss people out. When he runs alongside them, he can feed off them, and he knows exactly how they're feeling in comparison to him. And at the end of the day, he's a gutsy runner. If there's a move that someone doesn't want to make, he'll make it. He'll crush people's hearts out there, and he's doing this to Kavanagh at the moment. Kavanagh will hang on though. Like I said, he's had good experience recently, Kavanagh, at being in those positions over the last sort of few months. I think back to that British Championships, how far back he was behind Scott Beattie. That gap he closed on that occasion. So he'll have a big close. However, we'll also look to see who's a little further back. So still, just 10 metres between them. James Kingston of Tonbridge AC and Jack Kavanagh of Holland Sports in second place, and that gap is very much staying the same at this stage.
Keep going, don't be strong.
The pair of them have got plenty of people out on the course. This is great to see. This head-to-head duel. We thought we were going to have Wigfield as well to throw into the occasion. And we'll check in where Wightman is a little further back down the field. Will he win the battle of that chase group? Jake Wightman, World Championship silver medalist over the 1500, world champion going back a few years in Eugene. And it's great to see Wightman back at these sorts of events, to be fair. He always used to. This is where he'd start his campaign for the year, and he's doing it tonight in Battersea. Well, look at this. Two of the strongest runners in the UK, and I don't just mean physically, I also mean mentally. Not much breaks these guys. They are so used, I mean, the pair of them, to be fair, grinding out those repetitions on the track, on the roads, on the country. They're used to pinging off the front of races, having to hold gaps, having to bluff the opposition behind them a little bit as well. And Kingston is doing just that, but he'll hear that steady, constant footfall of Kavanagh behind him. They're almost in sync.
Great run, James, great run.
As we approach the 20-minute marker, they'll know what's ahead of them. 23:10, by the way, Abdi Yelmi's course record. They're on for that. That was another 4:30-ish mile from these men out here. They are absolutely flying. Kingston and Kavanagh. Now they're back again, neck and neck. Kingston applied the pressure by the bandstand. He had to, really. He had to ask the question. He had to just numb Kavanagh's legs a little bit going into that final mile. And has that move been successful? All to run for the last 4 minutes of this race. There is a long straight. Of course, it's not just up to the bandstand like usual on a Friday night. It's the bandstand and beyond here at the Christmas Classic. So Kavanagh, he made contact. Is he just being asked the question again? Has Kingston just responded? Sometimes in this position, the leader does have the upper hand. Kavanagh would have had to work very, very hard to get back onto him to close that gap. And Kingston will be aware of that. And he'll know that even though he's made contact, Kavanagh will be under serious stress, and you've got to tell yourself that if you're out front. There's no way you could start to field a victim. You've got to be able to thrive in those positions. So then here we go, moves are being made. Look at a pair of them now. So Kavanagh just in front. Now it's Kingston's turn to hang on. This long sweeping bend is ahead of them. And after that, that long straight awaits as well. Oh, this is what we come for, isn't it? This is what we come for. Two men flowing. They've battled, they've thrown a few punches tonight. They've gone about it quietly. I mentioned it's an eerie old night here in Battersea Park. These boys are lighting it up, they really are. And this is a race for the ages. We'll look back on this in a few years. What will become of these two? Time will tell. One has had an accelerated career to this point. Kingston, still, believe it or not, the pair of them, young athletes in their trade at the moment. It's going to come down to footing as well. We know there are some questionable bumps and lumps along this straight up to the bandstand as well. So it's who's got the best line. Kingston on his shoulder. Kavanagh now leads. And I wonder if Kavanagh would have predicted the minute he goes past Kingston, he'd have him, he'd blow. But no, not on this occasion. You know, and I mentioned Kingston is developing his track speed, his track finesse, and this is a skill you need on the track. You've got to keep those gaps. You've got to keep those margins. Kavanagh now leads. Brilliant pressure being applied. Is that a yard or two ahead of Kingston, who led a lap ago on this straight? 21:20 on the clock for these men. They will be looking at that 23-minute barrier. They'll know just how fast that is. 4:35 miling, and they pretty much, after that cautious first mile, they accelerated themselves down to 4:30s, and they sat there pretty much all race long. Well, you would bet Kavanagh to just move away with this now. He's got the gap. He's got it. His coach Neil Danby was on that bottom corner there. He gave him the words. He told him how much he wants it. He reminded him of that. Kingston's sticking at his task. He'll be very, very pleased with his effort out here tonight. 22 minutes on the clock. We'll keep an eye. About 250, 300 metres to run.
Go on, James, go on.
There's a lot to run for both of these men still. Kavanagh a course record. Kingston a sub 23 and a lifetime best over 5 miles. There'll be no doubt about that for him. But Kavanagh, he's doing it again here in Battersea Park. He's just eased clear. His trademark kick. We saw it a month ago, and it's come out here again tonight. And there is no doubt Jack Kavanagh is going to be the victor now. He made his move at the perfect time. It was a crushing blow to Kingston, but he's the king of Battersea Park. Jack Kavanagh, ladies and gentlemen, another win in 2025 for this man. And James Kingston is going to come in just behind. The pair of them, sub 23 minutes. Phenomenal running. I had 22:50 on the clock for Kavanagh, and Kingston in second, 22:55 or so. Very little separate him now. Who's coming home in third? Is that Ben Alcock? And it's a few lap runners coming across the line, but it is the world champion, the world silver medalist, Jake Wightman. We thought as much. He's outkicked that group. 23 on the clock. Ben Alcock in fourth there. Jonathan Cornish coming across the line. 23:30 is a fantastic performance from him. And Flurry Grierson, 23.5 as well. Those men have flown round there tonight. And there you have it, the final one of Friday Night Under Lights. We'll be back on New Year's Eve, and we look forward to seeing you all there. Back to the traditional 5K distance, and of course, that handicap mile.